The vast darkness of space stretched endlessly before the US Odyssey asterisk, its sleek metallic hull glinting faintly under the light of a distant star. Inside the command center, Captain Ethan Hayes stood silently, his hands clasped behind his back as he stared out at the swirling nebula outside the viewport. His sharp blue eyes reflected both determination and unease. This was the moment humanity had been preparing for over decades, its first true step into the unknown reaches of the galaxy. But now that they were here, the weight of responsibility pressed heavily on his shoulders. Ethan wasn't alone in the room. Around him, the crew worked quietly, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of monitors and control panels. Lieutenant Rachel Monroe, the ship's tactical officer, sat at her station, reviewing data streams from the ship's sensors. She was young but highly skilled, with a steady hand and quick mind. To Ethan's left, Daniel Carter, the communications specialist, adjusted dials on his console, trying to pick up any signals from nearby systems. Both officers understood the gravity of their mission. Earth's survival depended on what happened next. For years, humanity had believed it was alone in the universe. That belief shattered when astronomers detected strange energy signatures emanating from deep space. Further investigation revealed the existence of advanced alien civilizations, and not all of them were friendly. The Zorathian Empire, a militaristic species known for subjugating weaker races, loomed large among these discoveries. Their reputation sent chills down the spines of Earth's leaders, who scrambled to build the Odyssey as a deterrent against potential threats. Now, after months of travel through hyperspace, the Odyssey had finally arrived in uncharted territory. As the ship emerged from its jump, the crew immediately noticed something unusual. Sensor readings showed dozens of massive vessels orbiting a nearby planet. These weren't just any ships. They belonged to the Zorathians. Ethan felt a knot tighten in his stomach. "Report," he said calmly, though his voice carried an edge of tension. Rachel glanced up from her screen. "Sir, we're detecting over 50 warships in the vicinity. They're armed to the teeth." Her tone was professional, but there was no mistaking the worry in her eyes. Daniel chimed in, his brow furrowed. "No response to our hails yet. Either they don't know we're here, or they're ignoring us." Ethan nodded slowly, processing the information. He knew they couldn't afford to make a wrong move. One mistake could mean disaster, not just for the Odyssey, but for Earth itself. "Keep scanning," he ordered. "We need to know everything we can about them before we act." As the crew continued their work, Ethan turned his attention back to the viewport. The sight of the Zorathian fleet filled him with a mix of awe and dread. Each ship was enormous, bristling with weapons and glowing with ominous red lights. It was clear that the Zorathians were a power to be reckoned with. Yet, despite their intimidating presence, Ethan refused to let fear dictate his actions. Humanity had come too far to back down now. Minutes passed, and the silence aboard the Odyssey grew heavier. Then, without warning, one of the Zorathian ships changed course, heading straight toward them. Alarm klaxons blared throughout the command center. "They'd spotted us," Rachel shouted, her fingers flying across her keyboard. Ethan's jaw tightened. "Raise shields and prepare for evasive maneuvers," he commanded. His voice remained steady, even as adrenaline coursed through his veins. Whatever happened next, the crew would face it together. For better or worse, Earth's fate rested in their hands. The news of Earth's arrival spread quickly across the galaxy, faster than even the crew of the US Odyssey could have imagined. In the vast expanse of space, information traveled like wildfire, carried by subspace signals and relayed through countless alien networks. For some, it was a moment of hope. For others, it was a cause for alarm. The Zorathian Empire, however, reacted with cold disdain. Their leaders scoffed at the idea of humanity daring to enter their territory. To them, Earth was nothing more than a primitive backwater planet, unworthy of attention. Until now. On the bridge of the Odyssey Lieutenant Rachel Monroe worked tirelessly to piece together reports intercepted from nearby systems. Her brow furrowed as she sifted through fragmented transmissions. "Captain," she said, turning to Ethan Hayes, "it seems our presence has caused quite a stir. Several species are talking about us." She hesitated, then added, "Not all of them are friendly." Ethan nodded, his expression thoughtful. He had expected as much. Humanity's sudden appearance in the galactic stage was bound to draw attention, but the scale of the reaction surprised even him. "What are they saying?" he asked, leaning slightly forward. Rachel tapped a few keys on her console, bringing up a holographic display. "Some smaller species, like the Arinians, see us as potential allies. They've been under Zorathian rule for centuries, and might view us as a chance to fight back." She paused, glancing at Ethan before continuing. "But the bigger powers, they're not so welcoming. A few have already declared us a threat." Ethan let out a slow breath. This was exactly what he had feared. Humanity wasn't just stepping into a new frontier, it was walking into a battlefield. Every decision they made would be scrutinized, every move judged. One wrong step could mean disaster, not only for the Odyssey but for Earth itself. Meanwhile, Communications Officer Daniel Carter listened intently to the chatter flooding their receivers. His headset crackled with voices speaking in languages he barely understood, though translation software did its best to keep up. Among the noise, one message stood out, a warning from an unknown source. "Captain," Daniel said suddenly, his voice tense, "we've got something. Someone's advising us to leave immediately. They say staying here is dangerous." Ethan frowned. "Can we trace the signal?" Daniel shook his head. "It's heavily encrypted. Whoever sent it doesn't want to be found." The mystery deepened, but Ethan couldn't afford to dwell on it. He turned to Science Officer Claire Bennett, who was quietly analyzing data at her station. "Claire, any updates on those readings we picked up earlier?" he asked. Claire looked up, pushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "I'm still working on it, sir. There's definitely something unusual about this region of space. The energy patterns don't match anything I've seen before. It's possible there's technology here, ancient tech, that could give us an edge." Ethan considered her words carefully. If Claire was right, finding that technology could change everything. But time was running out. The Zorathians were mobilizing, their fleet growing larger by the hour. Staying put much longer would only increase the risk of confrontation. As the hours passed, tensions aboard the Odyssey continued to rise. The crew moved with quiet urgency, each member focused on their tasks. Even the normally cheerful engineer Samuel Drake seemed subdued as he monitored the ship's systems. Everyone knew what was at stake. Failure meant not just the loss of the Odyssey, but the end of humanity's dreams of exploring the stars. In the distance, the Zorathian ships loomed like dark clouds, their ominous presence casting a shadow over the mission. Ethan stared at them through the viewport, his mind racing. Were they truly prepared for this? Could humanity stand against such overwhelming odds? These questions weighed heavily on him, but he pushed them aside. Now wasn't the time for doubt. They had come too far to turn back. "All right, everyone," Ethan said finally, breaking the silence. "We stick to the plan. Stay sharp, stay ready. Whatever happens, we face it together." His words echoed softly in the room, a reminder of the unity that held them together. No matter what challenges lay ahead, the crew of the Odyssey would meet them head-on. Captain Ethan Hayes stood on the bridge of the Odyssey, his gaze fixed on the holographic display hovering above the central console. The image showed the Zorathian fleet, their massive warships spread out like predators waiting to strike. For now, the enemy hadn't made a move, but the tension was palpable. Every member of the crew could feel it pressing down on them, a heavy weight that made even breathing seem harder. Ethan turned to Communications Officer Daniel Carter. "Send out another probe," he ordered, his voice calm but firm. "We need to establish contact. If they're willing to talk, we might avoid bloodshed." Daniel nodded and quickly relayed the command to engineering. Moments later, a small drone launched from the Odyssey's Bay, its sensors scanning the surrounding space as it drifted toward the Zorathian ships. On the bridge, everyone watched silently, their eyes glued to the screens displaying the probe's progress. Lieutenant Rachel Monroe monitored the situation closely, her fingers poised over the controls in case things went wrong. The probe approached cautiously, transmitting the simple message encoded in universal mathematical patterns, a language designed to be understood by any intelligent species. It was humanity's way of saying, "We come in peace, but peace wasn't what the Zorathians had in mind." Without warning, one of the massive alien vessels fired a bright red beam, striking the probe with deadly precision. In an instant, the tiny craft disintegrated into nothingness, leaving only a faint trail of debris. Gasps rippled through the bridge, followed by a stunned silence. No one spoke, but the message was clear. The Zorathians weren't interested in diplomacy. Ethan clenched his jaw, his hands gripping the edge of the console. He had hoped for a different outcome, but deep down, he hadn't been surprised. The Zorathians were known for their brutality, and this act of aggression confirmed everything Earth's leaders had feared. Still, he refused to let anger cloud his judgment. Acting rashly would only play into their hands. "Sir," Rachel said, breaking the silence, "they've locked onto us. Their weapons are charging." Ethan's mind raced. The Odyssey was advanced, but it wasn't built to take on an entire fleet. Not yet. "Raise shields," he commanded. "Prepare to jump to hyperspace if needed. We can't afford to engage them directly." As the crew scrambled to carry out his orders, Science Officer Claire Bennett leaned forward, studying the data streaming in from the destroyed probe. "Captain," she said urgently, before it was destroyed, "the probe picked up something unusual. There's a pattern in their energy signatures, like a weak point in their defenses." Ethan glanced at her sharply. "Explain." Claire hesitated, choosing her words carefully. "It's subtle, but consistent. If we can exploit it, we might have a chance against them in the future. Right now, though, we don't have enough firepower to test it." Ethan nodded slowly. Claire's discovery was promising, but it wouldn't help them in this moment. Survival came first. "Helm, plot a course away from the fleet," he ordered. "We'll retreat for now and regroup. Let's see if we can gather more intel before making our next move." The helmsman complied, punching coordinates into the navigation system. The Odyssey began to maneuver, its engines humming softly as it prepared to leave the danger zone. But just as the ship started to pull away, another alarm blared. One of the Zorathian vessels broke formation, moving rapidly to intercept them. "They're pursuing us," Rachel shouted, her voice tight with urgency. Ethan's heart pounded, but he kept his composure. "Keep calm," he said firmly. "Stay on course. Don't give them a reason to fire." The seconds felt like hours as the Odyssey sped away, the Zorathian ship closing the gap behind them. Tension filled the air, thick enough to choke on. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the alien vessel slowed, falling back to rejoin its fleet. The immediate threat had passed, for now. Back in safer territory, Ethan addressed the crew. "Good work, everyone. We got out alive, and that's what matters. But this isn't over. They've shown us their true colors, and we need to be ready for whatever comes next." His word hung in the air, a sobering reminder of the challenges ahead. After retreating from the Zorathian fleet, the Odyssey entered a quiet region of space, filled with drifting asteroids and swirling clouds of cosmic dust. The crew worked to repair minor damage sustained during their escape, while Captain Ethan Hayes gathered his senior officers in the briefing room. The mood was tense but focused. Everyone knew they had narrowly avoided disaster, but questions lingered. How could humanity stand against such a powerful enemy? And what secrets lay hidden in this uncharted part of the galaxy? Science Officer Claire Bennett stood at the front of the room, her fingers dancing over a holographic display. She called up an image of the area where their probe had been destroyed. Before the Zorathians blew it apart, she began, "Our probe detected strange energy readings coming from these asteroids." She pointed to a cluster of rocks scattered across the screen. "The patterns don't match anything we've seen before. Not human, not Zorathian. It's possible there's ancient technology here." Ethan leaned forward, his elbows resting on the table. Ancient tech, like relics left behind by some long-lost civilization. Claire nodded. "Exactly. If we're lucky, it could give us an advantage. Maybe even something that levels the playing field against the Zorathians." Lieutenant Rachel Monroe frowned, her tactical mind already considering the risks. "We can't afford to waste time chasing ghosts. What if it's a trap? Or worse, what if the Zorathians are using this as bait to lure us deeper into their territory?" Ethan understood her concerns but couldn't ignore the potential payoff. "We need every edge we can get," he said firmly. "If there's even a chance this could help us, we have to investigate. But we'll do it carefully." Engineer Samuel Drake chimed in, his voice steady and practical. "I'll go with Claire to examine whatever we find. If it's tech, I can figure out how to use it, or adapt it for the Odyssey *. Ethan gave him a grateful nod. "Good. Take a small team and keep communications open at all times. We can't risk losing you out there." The next morning, Claire and Samuel boarded a shuttlecraft along with 2 other crew members. They flew toward the asteroid field, the jagged rocks growing larger as they approached. The surface of each asteroid was pockmarked and gray, seemingly lifeless, but beneath the dusty exterior, sensors revealed traces of metallic structures, remnants of something far older than humanity. As the shuttle landed on one of the larger asteroids, Claire stepped out first, her boots crunching against the rocky ground. Her handheld scanner beeped steadily, guiding her toward a faint energy source buried just below the surface. Samuel followed close behind, carrying tools to dig through the thick layers of debris. It didn't take long to uncover the artifact, a smooth black obelisk standing about waist-high. Its surface shimmered faintly, almost like liquid metal. Claire ran her fingers lightly over it, marveling at its craftsmanship. "This isn't natural," she murmured. "Whoever built this knew things we can only dream of." Samuel knelt beside her, inspecting the object more closely. "Look here," he said, pointing to a series of intricate symbols etched into the base. "These markings, they're instructions, maybe a way to activate it." Back on the Odyssey *, Daniel Carter monitored their progress anxiously. "You're sure it's safe?" he asked over the comms. "As sure as we can be," Claire replied. "But we won't know until we try." With careful precision, Samuel used his tools to interact with the symbols. At first, nothing happened. Then, with a low hum, the obelisk began to glow brighter, its light pulsing rhythmically. A surge of energy radiated outward, causing the shuttle systems to flicker briefly. "This is incredible," Claire whispered, awestruck. "If we can harness this power." Her voice trailed off as the implications sank in. This discovery could change everything. For Earth, for the galaxy. But it also raised new questions. Who had created this technology? And why had they left it here, abandoned among the stars? Unbeknownst to them, their actions had not gone unnoticed. Far away, hidden within the shadows of the asteroid field, a pair of glowing eyes watched silently, waiting to see what humanity would do next. While Claire and Samuel worked to uncover the secrets of the ancient obelisk, the US Odyssey drifted quietly in orbit above the asteroid field. The crew aboard the ship remained vigilant, scanning for any signs of danger. Captain Ethan Hayes paced the bridge, his thoughts consumed by the possibilities the artifact presented and the risks it carried. Ancient technology was a double-edged sword. It could give humanity an advantage against the Zorathians, but it could also draw unwanted attention from others who might see Earth as a threat. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship. Lieutenant Rachel Monroe sprang into action, her fingers flying across her console. "Captain, we've got incoming ships," she shouted. "Multiple vessels approaching fast." Ethan rushed to the viewport, his heart pounding. Through the glass, he saw a swarm of small, sleek ships weaving through the asteroids. They weren't Zorathian. These craft were different, their designs more organic and fluid. As they drew closer, one of the ships transmitted a signal. "Unknown vessel, identify yourselves," came a voice over the comms. It was firm but not hostile. Daniel Carter adjusted his headset, quickly translating the message. "It's Iranian," he said, looking up at Ethan. "They're asking who we are." Ethan took a deep breath. This was their chance to make contact with another species, one that wasn't bent on destruction. "Respond," he ordered. "Tell them we're from Earth, and we mean no harm." Daniel relayed the message, and after a tense moment, the lead Iranian ship slowed its approach. A holographic image flickered to life on the bridge. A tall, slender alien with pale blue skin and large, luminous eyes. Her expression was wary but curious. "I am Commander Lythera Voss of the Iranian Coalition," she said. "Why have you come to this region?" Ethan stepped forward, standing tall despite the weight of the moment. "We're explorers," he explained. "Our people recently discovered your galaxy, and we seek peaceful relations, but we've encountered hostility from the Zorathians." Lyra's gaze softened slightly, though her tone remained guarded. "The Zorathians are a plague upon this galaxy. Few dare to oppose them." She paused, studying Ethan carefully. "What is your purpose here?" Before Ethan could respond, another alarm sounded. Rachel's face turned grim. "More ships incoming. Zorathian signatures. They must have tracked us here." Panic rippled through the bridge, but Ethan forced himself to stay calm. "Commander Voss," he said urgently, "we need your help. If we work together, we might stand a chance." Lythera hesitated, glancing at her crew off-screen. Finally, she nodded. "Very well. Follow us, and we'll lead you to safety. But know this, aiding you puts my people at great risk." Without wasting another second, the Iranian ships formed a protective formation around the Odyssey asterisk. Together, they sped through the asteroid field, dodging debris and evading the pursuing Zorathians. Laser blasts streaked past them, lighting up the darkness of space like flashes of lightning. Claire and Samuel scrambled back to their shuttle, narrowly escaping the chaos as the obelisk's energy surged unpredictably behind them. Back aboard the Odyssey asterisk, Ethan watched the view screen intently, his jaw clenched. The Zorathians were relentless, their larger ships closing in. "We can't keep this up forever," Rachel warned, her voice tight with strain. The Iranian outpost was a marvel of engineering, its structures blending seamlessly with the vibrant colors of the surrounding nebula. The US Odyssey asterisk docked at the station's central hub, where Commander Lythera Voss and her people welcomed the crew with cautious hospitality. Though the Iranians were grateful for humanity's potential as allies, they remained wary. They had suffered under Zorathian rule for centuries, and trust did not come easily. Captain Ethan Hayes gathered his senior officers in one of the outpost's meeting chambers. The room was small but functional, its walls lined with glowing panels that cast a soft light over the table. Claire Bennett spread out holographic images of the ancient obelisk they had discovered, while Samuel Drake explained their initial findings. "This thing is incredible," Samuel said, pointing to the shimmering projection. "It generates energy on a scale we've never seen before. If we can adapt it for the Odyssey asterisk, it could give us a real advantage against the Zorathians." Rachel Monroe leaned forward, her sharp eyes scanning the data. "But how long will it take? We don't have much time. The Zorathians know we're here now, and they won't stop until they find us." Ethan nodded thoughtfully. "We'll need to work fast. Claire, Samuel, focus on understanding the obelisk's mechanics. Rachel, I want you to coordinate with the Iranians. Learn everything you can about Zorathian tactics. Daniel, keep monitoring communications. We can't afford any surprises. As the officers dispersed to carry out their tasks, tensions began to rise among the crew. Days turned into weeks, and the confined spaces of the outpost started to wear on everyone. Arguments broke out over minor issues, and exhaustion became a constant companion. Even Samuel, usually cheerful and optimistic, snapped at an assistant during a routine test of the obelisk's energy output. Ethan noticed the strain and called a meeting with his senior staff. "Listen," he said firmly, "I know things are tough right now. We're all tired, and the pressure is high, but we can't let it divide us. We're stronger together. Remember why we're here: for Earth, for our families, for the future." His words resonated, and the crew rallied. Morale improved slightly, though the looming threat of the Zorathians still hung over them like a storm cloud. Meanwhile, Claire and Samuel made significant progress with the obelisk. They discovered that its energy could be channeled into the Odyssey's weapon systems, creating a powerful pulse capable of disabling enemy shields. However, using the obelisk came with risks. It drained immense amounts of power and could overload the ship's reactors if not managed carefully. Commander Lythera Voss joined Ethan in the lab one evening, watching as Claire demonstrated the obelisk's capabilities. "Your people are resourceful," she said, her tone respectful. "But this weapon, it's dangerous. Are you prepared to use it?" Ethan met her gaze steadily. "We don't want to become like the Zorathians, but if it means protecting innocent lives, including yours, we'll do what's necessary." Lythera nodded slowly. "Then perhaps there is hope for this alliance after all." Back aboard the Odyssey the crew conducted simulated combat drills to prepare for the inevitable confrontation. Rachel devised intricate strategies, combining human ingenuity with Iranian stealth technology. The Iranians, in turn, shared intelligence about Zorathian fleet movements, revealing weaknesses in their formations. One evening, as Ethan stood on the bridge staring out at the nebula, Daniel approached him. "Captain," he said quietly, "we've picked up chatter from nearby systems. The Zorathians are planning something big. It looks like they're gathering their entire fleet." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Where?" "Near Earth," Daniel replied grimly. "They're heading straight for your home." A heavy silence fell over the bridge. Ethan knew what this meant. The time for preparation was over. Humanity's survival depended on their next move, and whether they could rally enough allies to stand against the Zorathian tide. "We'll stop them," Ethan said finally, his voice steady despite the fear gnawing at him. "For Earth. For everyone." The US Odyssey and its Iranian allies raced through the vastness of space, their destination clear: Earth. The Zorathian fleet was already en route, its massive armada a deadly force that could crush humanity's home in an instant. Captain Ethan Hayes stood on the bridge, his face pale but resolute. Every second counted, and the weight of responsibility pressed down on him like never before. As they approached a dense asteroid field near Earth's solar system, Rachel Monroe called out from her station, "Captain, we've got trouble. Multiple Zorathian ships are waiting for us, right in our path." Ethan's heart sank. The enemy had anticipated their arrival and set a trap. He turned to Claire Bennett, who was monitoring the obelisk's energy levels. "How much power do we have left?" Claire hesitated, her fingers flying over her console. "Enough for one strong pulse, maybe two. After that, we risk burning out the reactors." Ethan nodded grimly. "Then we'll make it count." The crew braced themselves as the Odyssey entered the asteroid field. Rocks tumbled chaotically around them, making navigation treacherous. The Zorathians used this to their advantage, firing blindly into the chaos, hoping to hit the human ship. Explosions lit up the darkness as chunks of debris were vaporized by laser blasts. "Shields are holding. For now," Rachel reported, her voice tight with strain. "But we can't take many more hits." Ethan clenched his fists. Helm, keep us moving. Use the asteroids as cover. Daniel, see if you can jam their targeting systems. Daniel Carter worked quickly, sending bursts of interference signals to confuse the Zorathian sensors. For a moment, it seemed to work. The enemy fire became less accurate. But the reprieve was short-lived. One of the larger Zorathian ships broke through the chaos, its massive cannons locking onto the Odyssey *. They're charging their main weapon, Rachel shouted. Ethan's mind raced. They needed to act fast. Samuel, channel the obelisk's energy to the forward shields. Claire, prepare to fire the pulse cannon as soon as we're in range. The crew sprang into action. Samuel rerouted power just in time, reinforcing the shields as a devastating blast struck the ship. The impact shook the entire vessel, throwing some crew members off their feet. Alarms blared, but Ethan ignored them, his eyes fixed on the viewport. Now, Claire, he barked. Claire didn't hesitate. She activated the pulse cannon, unleashing a wave of concentrated energy that surged toward the Zorathian flagship. The beam struck true, disabling the ship's weapons and leaving it vulnerable. Cheers erupted on the bridge, but Ethan silenced them with a raised hand. We're not done yet, he said sharply. There are still too many of them. Just as the situation seemed hopeless, a new group of ships appeared on the scanners. At first, everyone feared it was another Zorathian squadron. But then the unmistakable shapes of Iranian vessels came into view. Commander Lythera Voss had kept her promise. Her fleet swooped in, attacking the Zorathians from behind and creating chaos among their ranks. Lythera is here, Daniel exclaimed, relief evident in his voice. She brought reinforcements. With the Iranians drawing the enemy's attention, the Odyssey slipped deeper into the asteroid field, using the terrain to evade pursuit. Claire guided the ship through narrow passages, her sharp instincts keeping them safe. Rocks scraped against the hull, but the damage was minor compared to what they'd faced earlier. Finally, after what felt like hours, the Zorathians began to retreat, regrouping to assess their losses. The immediate threat had passed, but Ethan knew this was only a temporary victory. The battle had cost them dearly. The Odyssey's systems were strained, and several crew members were injured. Still, they had survived, thanks in part to their newfound allies. Back in safer territory, Ethan addressed the crew over the ship's intercom. Today, we proved that humanity isn't alone. We fought alongside friends who share our dream of freedom. But the war isn't over. The Zorathians will come again, stronger than ever. And when they do, we'll be ready. His words echoed through the corridors of the battered ship, a reminder of the challenges ahead and the strength they had found together. The US Odyssey limped back to the Iranian outpost, its hull scared and systems strained from the battle. The crew worked tirelessly to repair the damage, their movements fueled by exhaustion but driven by determination. Captain Ethan Hayes walked through the corridors, offering words of encouragement where he could. He knew morale was low after the close call with the Zorathians, but there was no time to rest. Earth's survival depended on what they did next. In the lab, Claire Bennett and Samuel Drake pored over data from the obelisk. They had used its power to devastating effect during the battle, but they were far from unlocking its full potential. We need more time, Claire muttered, rubbing her temples. This thing is like nothing we've ever seen before. Samuel nodded, his brow furrowed as he studied the readings. If we push it too hard, we risk losing control. But if we don't figure it out soon, his voice trailed off, the implication clear. Failure meant the end, not just for the Odyssey but for humanity. Ethan joined them in the lab, his expression grim. How much longer? He asked. Claire hesitated. A day, maybe two. But even then, using the obelisk comes with risks. It's powerful, but unstable. One wrong move, and it could destroy us. Ethan sighed heavily. We don't have a choice. The Zorathians won't wait. We have to be ready. As the engineers worked, Rachel Monroe coordinated with Commander Lythera HFY and her people. Together, they devised a daring plan, an ambush near Earth's orbit. By combining human ingenuity with Iranian stealth technology, they hoped to catch the Zorathians off guard. But everyone knew the odds were against them. The enemy fleet outnumbered them 10-1. Daniel Carter spent hours monitoring communications, searching for any sign of the Zorathians' next move. Finally, he intercepted a transmission that sent chills down his spine. "Captain," he said urgently, rushing onto the bridge, "they're mobilizing everything they've got. Their entire fleet is heading straight for Earth." Ethan felt a cold knot form in his stomach. This was it, the final confrontation. There would be no retreat, no second chances. "Set course for Earth," he ordered. "Tell Lythera we'll meet her at the rally point." The journey back to Earth was tense and silent. Every member of the crew knew what lay ahead. Some wrote letters to loved ones they might never see again. Others simply sat quietly, lost in thought. Ethan spent most of his time on the bridge, staring out at the stars. He thought about Earth, about the billions of lives counting on him, and vowed not to let them down. When they arrived, the sight was sobering. The Zorathian fleet loomed like a dark storm cloud, blotting out the light of the sun. Hundreds of ships formed a blockade around Earth, their weapons trained on the planet below. It was a scene of overwhelming power and menace. Ethan gathered his officers for one last briefing. "Here's the plan," he began, his voice steady despite the fear gnawing at him. "We'll use the Obelisk's pulse cannon to disable as many ships as we can. Then, the Iranians will hit them from behind, while we protect Earth's atmosphere. If we succeed, we buy humanity a fighting chance." Rachel spoke up, her tone firm. "And if we fail?" Ethan met her gaze without flinching. "Then we go down fighting. For Earth, for our future." Back in the lab, Claire and Samuel made final adjustments to the obelisk. Beads of sweat rolled down their faces as they worked, knowing the fate of billions rested on their shoulders. "Ready?" Samuel asked, his hand hovering over the activation switch. Claire swallowed hard. "As ready as we'll ever be." Moments later, the *Odyssey* launched its assault, charging directly at the heart of the Zorathian fleet. The obelisk pulsed with energy, unleashing a blinding wave that crippled dozens of ships in an instant. Chaos erupted among the enemy ranks, giving the Iranians their opening. But the cost was high. The strain on the Odyssey's systems pushed the ship to its limits. Alarms blared as circuits overloaded, and parts of the ship began to fail. Yet even as the world seemed to crumble around them, the crew held firm. "We're holding them off," Rachel shouted over the noise. "Keep going." Through gritted teeth, Ethan gripped the armrests of his chair. Humanity's survival hung by a thread. But for now, they still stood. The battle raged on, a chaotic storm of lasers, explosions, and drifting wreckage. The US Odyssey surged forward like a wounded beast, its systems straining under the immense power of the obelisk's pulse cannon. Captain Ethan Hayes gripped the edges of his command chair, his knuckles white as he watched the view screen. Each pulse from the obelisk sent shockwaves through the Zorathian fleet, disabling dozens of ships at a time. But for every enemy vessel they destroyed, 2 more seemed to take its place. "Shields are down to 30%. Rachel Monroe shouted, her voice rising above the alarms blaring across the bridge. "We can't keep this up much longer." Ethan didn't respond immediately. His eyes were fixed on the tactical display, showing the positions of the Iranian fighters weaving through the chaos. They were doing their part, striking from behind, and creating confusion among the Zorathians. But even with their help, the odds were overwhelming. The enemy fleet stretched endlessly, a sea of metal and fire blocking out the light of Earth's sun. Claire Bennett and Samuel Drake worked frantically in the lab below, monitoring the obelisk's energy levels. Sweat dripped from their foreheads as they tried to stabilize the system. "One more shot," Claire said breathlessly, her hands trembling over the controls. That's all we've got left. Samuel nodded grimly. If we push it any further, the core will overload. We'll lose the ship, and everyone on it. Ethan heard the update over the comms and clenched his jaw. He knew what had to be done. Turning to Daniel Carter, he barked, "Patch me through to the entire fleet. Everyone needs to hear this." Daniel quickly complied, and Ethan's voice echoed not just through the Odyssey but also to the Iranian ships fighting alongside them. "This is it," he said, his tone resolute. "We've come too far to give up now. Today, we show the galaxy that humanity will not back down, that we stand together, no matter the cost. Give everything you've got, for Earth, for freedom, for the future." His words ignited a spark in the crew. Faces hardened with determination, and hands moved faster over consoles. On the bridge, Rachel plotted one final course, steering the Odyssey directly into the heart of the Zorathian formation. "Ready the last pulse," she called out, her voice steady despite the danger. As the ship approached the center of the enemy fleet, Claire activated the obelisk one final time. A blinding burst of energy erupted from the Odyssey, engulfing the surrounding Zorathian ships. Dozens were disabled instantly, their hulls cracking apart as the pulse disrupted their systems. The explosion was so massive that it shook the entire battlefield, sending debris spiraling outward. But the victory came at a price. The strain on the Odyssey's reactors reached critical levels. Warning lights flashed red across every panel, and smoke began to fill the corridors. "Core breach imminent," Samuel yelled from the lab. "We need to evacuate." "No," Ethan replied firmly. "Not yet. Hold position until the Iranians can finish the job." Lythera Voss and her fleet seized the opportunity created by the pulse. Their smaller, agile ships darted between the crippled Zorathian vessels, picking off survivors with precision strikes. Within minutes, the once mighty armada was reduced to smoldering ruins. Back aboard the Odyssey, the situation grew dire. Flames licked at the walls, and the air smelled of burning circuits. "Captain," Rachel urged, panic creeping into her voice, "we have to go. Now." Ethan hesitated for a moment, then gave the order. "Evacuate non-essential personnel. Helm, get us clear of the blast radius." The crew scrambled to follow his orders, abandoning their posts and rushing toward escape pods. Ethan stayed behind on the bridge, ensuring everyone else made it out safely. As the last pod launched, he finally turned to leave, but not before taking one last look at Earth through the viewport. It hummed there in the distance, blue and beautiful, a symbol of everything they had fought for. Moments later, the Odyssey's core overloaded, erupting in a brilliant explosion that lit up the void of space. The blast wiped out the remaining Zorathian forces, leaving only silence in its wake. From their escape pods, the crew watched as the fiery remains of their ship drifted away. Tears streamed down faces, but amidst the grief, there was pride. They had done the impossible. They had saved Earth. The silence that followed the destruction of the Odyssey was profound. The crew sat in their escape pods, staring at the glowing remnants of their ship as they drifted through space. For many, it felt like losing a part of themselves. The Odyssey had been more than just a vessel. It had been their home, their sanctuary, and the symbol of humanity's courage. But even in its loss, there was hope. Earth was safe, and the Zorathian Empire had been shattered. Commander Lythera Voss and her Iranian fleet quickly retrieved the survivors, bringing them aboard one of their larger ships. As Captain Ethan Hayes stepped onto the alien vessel, he was greeted by Lythera herself. Her pale blue face was solemn, but her eyes held respect. "You've done what no one else could," she said softly. "The galaxy owes you a debt." Ethan shook his head, his voice heavy with emotion. "We couldn't have done it without you. Humanity doesn't stand alone anymore." The days that followed were filled with reflection and mourning. The crew gathered to honor those who hadn't made it, friends and comrades who had given everything for the mission. A small ceremony was held aboard the Iranian ship, where names were read aloud and tears were shed. But amidst the sorrow, there was also pride. They had faced an impossible enemy and emerged victorious. Back on Earth, news of the battle spread quickly. Billions of people watched footage of the Odyssey's final stand, their hearts swelling with gratitude. Cities lit up in celebration, and flags were raised in honor of the fallen heroes. Humanity had taken its place among the stars, not as conquerors, but as defenders of freedom. The Zorethians' defeat marked the beginning of a new era, one where smaller species no longer lived in fear of oppression. As the crew prepared to return home, Ethan stood on the observation deck of the Iranian ship, gazing out at the endless expanse of space. Claire Bennett joined him, her arms crossed tightly over her chest. "Do you think we'll ever see anything like this again?" she asked quietly. Ethan didn't answer right away. He thought about the sacrifices they'd made, the lives lost, and the battles yet to come. Finally, he spoke. "I don't know, but if we do, we'll face it together. That's what makes us strong." Claire nodded, her lips curving into a faint smile. "And maybe next time, we'll have better odds." When the crew finally landed on Earth, they were greeted as heroes. Crowds lined the streets, cheering and waving flags as the survivors disembarked. Families embraced loved ones they had feared they'd never see again, and strangers thanked them with tears in their eyes. Ethan walked among the throngs of people, humbled by their gratitude. He knew the fight wasn't truly over. The galaxy was vast, and dangers still lurked in the shadows. But for now, humanity had earned a moment of peace. In the months that followed, Earth began rebuilding its defenses, incorporating lessons learned from the Odyssey's mission. The alliance with the Iranians grew stronger, and other oppressed species reached out, eager to join forces against tyranny. Humanity had proven itself not just as explorers, but as protectors, a beacon of hope in a darkened cosmos. As Ethan stood on a hill overlooking the ocean one evening, he thought about the journey that had brought them here. It had been fraught with pain and loss, but also triumph and unity. The galaxy was no longer a lonely place for humanity. They had found allies, forged bonds, and carved out a future worth fighting for. "Captain," Rachel Monroe's voice broke his thoughts. She approached cautiously, holding a data tablet. "We've received a message from Lythera. She wants to meet, says there's something we need to see." Ethan smiled faintly, turning toward her. "Let's go. Whatever comes next, we'll face it together." And with that, humanity took its first step into a brighter future, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead among the stars.